When you're standing in a garage or a small shop, staring at a stack of sheet metal and wondering if you should finally invest in a CNC setup, the decision can feel a lot like a gamble. You've probably read a handful of glossy ads promising professional-grade precision and instant ROI, but the reality is that the right machine has to fit your space, your workflow, and the kind of parts you actually make. That's why I want to walk through the Eastwood VersaCut 22 CNC table with CNC Cut 60 and help you decide whether the hype lines up with real-world value. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the niche this machine occupies. A 2-foot by 2-foot work envelope puts it squarely in the small shop category. It's not built for cutting a full-size car door or a massive steel plate, but it's more than capable of handling the kinds of projects that keep hobbyists, sign makers, and light fabricators busy. Brackets for custom frames, signage panels, HVAC ductwork pieces, and small batch production runs of brackets or brackets for furniture. If you regularly find yourself dragging a handheld plasma cutter over a piece of 12-gauge steel and then having to manually clean up the edge, a CNC table like this can turn that 3-minute job into a repeatable, hand-free process. The system is sold as a complete package: a 22 steel table, a 60-amp CN-compatible plasma cutter, a dedicated machine torch, and an HD Consumables Kit. For many buyers, the biggest hurdle is the "what's actually included" question. In this case, the answer is pretty straightforward. You get a sturdy, welded steel frame that sits on a set of adjustable legs, a plasma cutter that plugs into a standard 240V outlet, a torch that mounts on the gantry, and a set of consumables NAS. I'm not pulling any hidden accessories out of a bag later. That all-in-one approach is a strength because you don't have to hunt down a separate torch or match a cutter to a table that wasn't designed to work together. Now, who will get the most out of this setup? If you're a hobbyist who already knows the basics of CNC programming, say, you can write a simple code file in Fusion 360 or even use a free CM package. Then the VersaCut gives you a low entry point to automate that work. Small businesses that produce custom signage, decorative metal art, or low-volume mechanical parts will also find the 60-amp cutter fast enough for thin to medium-thick steel. The real sweet spot is the repeatable parts use case. Once you've nailed the feed rate and torch height, the machine will cut identical pieces over and over with minimal variation, which saves both time and material waste. Conversely, if you're looking for a heavy-duty solution to rip-inch steel plates for automotive restoration, or you need a work envelope larger than a kitchen countertop, you'll probably be disappointed. The 22 size caps the maximum part size, and while 60 amps is respectable, it's not going to slice through thick steel at the speed of a 100-amp industrial cutter. Also, the system expects you to be comfortable with basic CNC setup, zero-offset calibration, probe routines, and a bit of troubleshooting when the torch drifts. If you're not ready to spend a weekend learning those steps, you might end up with a pricey piece of equipment that sits idle. Let's move to practical strengths. The biggest win for me is the stability of the dedicated machine torch. Because the torch is mounted on the gantry rather than being a handheld unit, you get consistent torch height throughout a cut. In real terms, that translates to cleaner edges on thin sheet metal and less need for post-cut grinding. The HD Consumables Kit that comes with the package includes a nozzle, electrode, and shield that are designed to work together, so you're not constantly swapping parts to chase a better cut quality. In my test runs on 14-gauge steel, the cut edge was smooth enough that a light brush removed the slag without a single pass of a grinder. That kind of consistency is something you normally only see on higher-priced systems. Another practical advantage is the software integration. Eastwood bundles a basic CNC controller that talks to common CM programs, and the learning curve is gentler than many industrial controllers. I was able to import a simple DXF file, set the material thickness, and let the machine do the rest without digging through 1,000 menu options. For people who aren't full-time CNC operators, that simplicity can be the difference between a weekend hobby and a recurring frustration. Now, the weaknesses. Because the table is relatively compact, the gantry travel is limited, and you'll need to be mindful of part placement. Larger parts have to be broken into sections, which adds a bit of planning. Also, The 60-amp cutter does produce a noticeable amount of noise and a bright arc, so proper ventilation and eye protection are non-negotiable, something many first-time buyers overlook until they fire up the machine. The power draw is also something to consider. You'll need a dedicated 240V circuit, which